odds. You can feel the heat. It's making or breaking. Try to survive. Don't ever. Making a stand against the odds. You can feel the heat. It's making or breaking. Try to survive. Don't ever say never. Keep your dream alive. Around the clock, we're gonna rock. Around the clock, we're gonna rock to the rhythm of the beat. Up and down the block. Around the clock, we're gonna rock the dreams you give us the space to talk. Wanna be somebody, be a contender. Gotta reach for the sky. If you want it, fight for it. Or kiss it goodbye. It's making or breaking. Try to survive. Don't ever.
He's Blake. I'm Ronnie. All the good names are taken. Podcast Saturday Night Live, Blake.
Saturday Night Live, Ronnie.
So we were sitting around earlier, me and Blake, and I threw an idea by him. It's like, you want to go live tonight? And he was like, sure, let's go live. What's the topic? And I was like, how about reasons why Halloween 2 is stupid? And he loved it. So we decided to come live. We put out the emergency press conference. I don't know how many people that actually reaches, Blake, when you put it on the Instagram and you put it on YouTube short. So whoever's here tonight, we're glad you're here. But we're going to talk about reasons that we think Halloween 2 is stupid. Now, a lot of people say that Halloween 2, Blake, is the best sequel in the Halloween franchise. Where do you rank on that? Or where do you sit on that, I guess I should say. What am I talking about?
I sit in the middle.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I don't like Halloween 2. I never have. I know you're a fan. I know most of the Halloween fan base is a huge fan of part 2. I'm not. I think it's, well, we'll get into why I don't like it a little later, but yeah, it's toward the bottom for me.
Well, I've told this story, like you've heard this story till you're probably sick of it.
I am.
But when I went to the video rental store as a kid, they did not have Halloween 1. I repeat myself all the time, so everybody always hears this story every stream. They didn't have Halloween 1, but they had Halloween 2. So I always pretty much rented Halloween 2. So Halloween 2 was my first introduction as a person choosing to pick a horror movie. I'm sure I'd watched it with my parents when I was younger, but it was my first introduction to the Halloween franchise. And I always wanted to know what happened before that, but we didn't have enough money to go buy one of those $90 VHSs, Blake. So, and most of the time we didn't have cable or satellite or, access to watch that movie. So it took like to the point where I was almost in high school before I found a store that had it where I could rent it. But I do like Halloween 2. I like a lot of things about Halloween 2. I don't know. I think that's a show for another day where we decide what the best sequels are. But yeah, I'm a fan of Halloween 2, but we're still doing the show.
I like how you said we didn't have cable half the time. Like that's such a That's such a great statement because you're right. We would go like 2 months with cable, and then them bills would come, and we'd go 4 months without cable, and then we'd get it cut back on. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, originally we had back in the 80s, we had the illegal satellite, the giant dish, and you could like, I really wish that I had memories of what some of those channels on that dish did for Halloween, because I can remember those local Philadelphia, even though we're in Mississippi, those local Philadelphia and New York affiliate channels talking about Halloween, and the movies that were aired, and we would stop them and watch them. And I have faint memories of a Halloween where I'm counting my candy or looking at my candy, and up on the screen on one of the random television stations, Annie is stuck in the window. So I do know I'd been introduced to the original Halloween. So there we go. But anyway, real quick, thanks to everybody that is absolutely, Ryan, and get you in trouble too. Jim Bob says he enjoys it. Yeah, it's okay. We tell the same stories over and over when we get old. I do the same thing. Yeah, it happens. But Blake, tonight we're going to argue why Halloween 2 sucks. And it's stupid. So you ready to get to it?
I'm ready to get down to it. I'm ready to piss some people off.
If you in the chat have your own reasons why you think we're wrong or we're right, or you have your additional reasons why this is stupid, add them in there and we'll talk about it. We're going to hit about 2 topics and then we'll come back and see what you guys are talking about. Hey, Chris is here. He says it's a great film. Nick Push is here. Our boy Nick. Can't stress enough how much we enjoy Nick Push. Everybody in the chat is already subscribed to your channel, Nick. But if anybody out there on Rumble or X that are watching this right now, if you're not subscribed to Nick Push's Horror channel, give the guy a sub. Blake, is that a Problem Child pick above your head?
It's a DVD, yes, and you're right. We got to get Nick Push to 10,000 subs before what's the deadline, Ronnie?
December. If he doesn't get to 10,000 subs before December, he's going to kill himself. Right. So
he's
there you
cut
go.
His dick off and kill himself. So let's get him there, guys. Come on.
So it's in your hands now, people. It's in your hands, X. It's in your hands, Rumble. It's in your hands, YouTube, whether or not he's going to have genitals. Bud's here saying a surprise live stream. And our boy Nick, 4 months worth of support in this channel, and we still haven't reviewed Top Secret for him. But Blake did watch Top Secret.
We didn't review Top Secret?
Remember, I told you I couldn't make it through it. The funniest part of that movie is when they just randomly open that door and like that guy is like dressed like a woman or something and they shut it real quick.
Well, you got the underwater fight scene too. I remember being very upset with Nick because he forced us to watch that movie. I thought we talked about it. Maybe we just told him in the chat that we couldn't stand it, so we can't review it. I guess that's what I'm remembering.
Well, I guess the gimmick is we always tell everybody that signs up for a membership we'll review their movies, and we never get to it. So when they leave us, we're like, yeah, well, we deserve that.
Hey, I don't know. You can't do zoom ins. What is the shirt you got? I really like. I'm getting Goonie vibes with the shirt.
It's really, my wife got it for me. It's really just like a bunch of flowers and looks like postcards. It's awesome.
Oh, okay.
I look awesome in it.
Nick, we will absolutely do Let It Ride. That is a promise, brother. One of our favorite movies of all time.
He stumbled coming out of the gate.
These horses are packer to packer.
Say one more word, I'll kill you. I love Let It Ride. Okay, Blake, let's get to it.
The goddamn horse. It's a Clydesdale.
Well, the guy was Sammy Davis Jr. around his neck, disturbing the customers. Can I get some help? Blake?
That's for all you rat bastards.
I don't like you 1F. Here we go, Blake. You give me 1 more ounce of profanity, and I'll blast your head off. You ready? First reason why Halloween 2 sucks or is stupid. There are 7 gunshots at the beginning of the movie. 7. We know there's 6 shots in part 1, right, Blake?
We do.
So who is in charge of editing this movie where they don't go, oh, that's our bad. We'll cut out the extra gunshot. That way it mixes with the other movie perfectly. We want it to sync up. It's stupid. Wrong or right, Blake?
I mean, you're absolutely right, Ronnie. That is a horrible mistake to start the movie.
And Nick Push says with a revolver. So there you go. I mean, that's a simple mistake. But one of my favorite that sticks out is when Loomis goes downstairs, the outline of Michael's body on the grass.
I'm glad you brought this up because in my notes, I have the dick print in the yard. And I know you've never noticed this, Ronnie. There is a big dick print, and I guess that's where, Big Dick Mike came from in the yard, like cartoon style.
Yeah, and Nick
Not
brings
to
up
mention,
a good
he falls out the front of the house, when in the original he went out the back or something like that.
Was that the back in the original? That's what I was just going to ask. I see where Nick's talking about it in the chat. I guess it would be the back, because if you look at that lawn from part 1, there's no giant wood laying in the middle of the yard like there is in the back when he fought. So I guess it was the back, and then he falls out the front in this one. So, I always thought it was a little cartoony, Roadrunner and Coyote, that there was a body print in the front yard, especially considering he wasn't there long enough to make an imprint on the grass. He was there literally seconds if you follow the first film. So the body outline was completely stupid. Let's see how the chat's handling this so far, Blake. I'll go through here. Even though I said I wasn't going to do this, Jim Bob says Alec Baldwin was responsible. Chris says, agreed. Loomis was a loose cannon in the beginning 6, not 7. Nick Push is bringing up the front yard. Ryan Underwood goes, Loomis isn't he never goes downstairs. I love Underwood. Bud says, I have one reason that sometimes I can't get over. The cops left the survivor. All right, Bud. Hold on to that one. Chris says, Warner Brother cartoon body outline, very dumb. Let's see. And Nick's agreeing with us. Kind of stupid. Acme body outline. Next to the next two, Blake. Are you ready for this? Dun, dun, dun. Lori's wig. And Blake, that was the first thing Blake said whenever I said this. Lori's wig is atrocious. She went and got the Susan Powder haircut immediately after Halloween, her trademark short hair. And in this movie, they give her one of the worst wigs you've ever seen, Blake.
Well, yeah, when you asked me, why this movie sucks, the first thing I said was Jamie Lee Curtis. Now, it's well known I'm not a fan of Jamie Lee Curtis, and she's not a fan of ours. I think she's pointless in this movie. Like, I get how important Laurie Strode is to Halloween 1978, but you think about it, she's not needed in this movie. She doesn't really provide anything. If she's not in this movie, then we don't get the whole stupid sibling thing either. So it could have simply been Michael just terrorizing the next street. I mean, it could have been that simple. But instead, we're going to put Jamie Lee Curtis in here. She don't want to be here. Let's throw a shit wig on her, and she's going to lay in bed for 2 hours. Stupid.
Bud says the 4K transfer of Halloween makes the wig look worse. See, that's the reason. I'm not a big... Blake, what are your thoughts on these movies becoming so crystal clear that you can see the faults in some of these older movies?
I'm not sure what you're talking about, Ronnie. I still have a box TV.
Okay. Well, the wig is terrible, and you just bring up a good point, and maybe a future video down the road. If Jamie Lee Curtis refuses to come back for Halloween 2 because she's such a huge star, how would it have been if Michael, like you just said, goes to the next street, starts killing, starting with that girl that's on the phone, and just keeps randomly killing until they catch him at the end of it? I mean, I think that is a wild concept, and they sort of went to that in 2018, where he's just going house to house and he doesn't care. I like that a lot. All right, Blake, moving on to what should be a fun discussion. Loomis not being arrested for Ben Tramer. Okay. So Loomis is panicked. He's put 6 shots in this guy. He's not human. He's riding around with Lee Brackett, and he's got the gun. He is panicked. He's scared. He's realized everything. All the BS he's been talking is actually true. He spots what he thinks is Michael Myers, and he chases him down, wrestles with Brackett, and tries to shoot a kid in a white mask who gets run over by a cop and burned to death. Now, let's look at some facts. You guys are going to say that the reason he wasn't arrested is because immediately Brackett finds out that his daughter's dead and they get the heck out of there. But eventually they got to come back to, how did Ben Tramer die? Okay. And if we go by and I understand before anybody says this, Halloween 2 is not canon to the David Gordon Green trilogy. But what the David Gordon Green trilogy did open up, Blake, is the fact that the cops made a lot of mistakes and they covered them up. Hawkins accidentally shooting the cop. So why wouldn't the police department cover up the fact that they caused this guy to get killed? Loomis was a major factor in Ben Tramer being run over and burned to death. He would have he would have faced jail time for that. Okay. So I don't know what my question is after that, Blake. I'm just filibustered. What do you got?
Yeah, I agree with you. We just got some good stuff in the chat. Nick Push says Loomis didn't kill Tramer. What are you going to arrest him for? Disturbing the peace. Allie said that Ben looked both ways, still wandered into traffic. He might be retarded. But I agree with you. I mean, but I also kind of agree with Nick. Technically, Loomis didn't shoot at Tramer. All he did was pull out his gun. At the end of the day, there's got to be some accountability on Ben Tramer. And what about this cop? I mean, you're supposed to be driving down the road. I mean, you're supposed to be being super safe, and you're the one who run over a kid and smashed him into a van. So, I mean, if it's not Loomis, it's got to be that cop, right? Then he gets out and immediately lies. He came out of nowhere, Sheriff. No, he didn't.
We got tons of almost smart people in the chat. I'm going to run a scenario by you. I get out of my car at a crowded walkway, and I chase a random individual with a gun. That random individual runs across the road in a panic and gets run over. My ass is going to jail. And that's exactly what happened. You can't use the rule, Loomis didn't do anything. He pulled a gun around a bunch of kids, and when they scattered, one of them got run over. I know it's 1978 and things were different, but he still would have went to jail for that. And the cop would have went to jail too, because they would have had hell explaining what was going on. And Ben Tramer was so lit that he went up like a fur ball on top of Stanitos' head.
All right, you convinced me. You're right.
Thank you, Blake. Let's move on. The next one, the next reason why Halloween 2 is stupid. Where the hell are Laurie's parents? They talk about Dr. Mixter was at the same party as Laurie's parents. Surely he could have called whatever golf club or golf. What am I thinking? What am I thinking about? Golf, not course,
luncheon?
Not luncheon. Golf. Anyway,
Resort?
Bushwood could have called Bushwood and told him, "Hey, get the Strodes up here to the hospital immediately." Now, let's look at the common sense factor about this. They say they couldn't reach them. But by this point, The television, Blake, is nothing but reports that somebody has broken out of a mental facility and killed 3 teenagers. It's all over the radio. It's all over the TV. Word would have spread to Lori's parents, and surely, don't call me Shirley, they would have gotten to the hospital before daylight. Wouldn't you think?
Well, it's hard for them to get that information, Ronnie, when they're sandwiched in between 3 other couples hunching.
It just makes zero sense that they have no idea where their daughter is. They have no idea what's happening across the town when you can't even turn the radio on. You can't even turn the radio on without hearing people talk about sirens and things like that. Plus, it's not a very big town. Everybody's talking about it. The parents should have been there. Like our dad. Moving on. Let's check the chat real quick. I'm sure that may have pissed some of them off. Bud said that's manslaughter. Nick, you can have a permit for a gun, but you can't wave it and threaten to shoot people with it, I don't think. I'm not a lawyer. They were getting wasted at the party. Country club. Thank you, Nick. Thank you. I would have never thought that. And Ryan even comes through like, this guy can't talk. Country club. Bud says they later established that her stepmom is an a-hole, so this isn't as bad as it seems. We're getting there, Nick. Bud, whatever. Nick says they were swingers at a swinger party at the time. You and Blake's got the same mentality. Maybe they were Mormons and didn't believe in TV or radio. Good point. Especially since everyone in the break room was glued to the TV. Whole town probably was like that. Very good. I agree, Nick. Tommy Wilkins in the chat and speaking up. Adopted daughter, they can buy a new one. Good point.
Great point.
I like where everybody's head is right here, Blake. Are we ready for the next one, Blake?
Yes.
Okay. Michael breaking into the school. So I'm going to ask your opinion, Blake, and I'm going to shut up because people get tired of hearing me talk. There's a scene towards the end of the movie where Hunt gets a report. There's been a break-in at the school. They go there, and Michael has put a knife into it was like a picture drawn by my daughter, who's 3, and it's in the sister. Why? Did he break into the school earlier that day, Blake? Or that night? What are your thoughts on this?
I don't know when he breaks into the school. If it didn't happen during the day of part 1, Ronnie. I mean, explain to me when it could have happened, you know? But yeah, it's stupid. Like, I guess you could say maybe he did it. No, I mean, you can't even say that. He was standing outside the school when he was watching Lori. He was following Tommy around. He didn't go in then. He immediately gets in his car and drives away. So, I mean, who knows? But they are breaking into a classroom. And is the alarm going off at the school, Ronnie? I can't remember. I might be confusing that with the general store.
You would have to assume that either the cops were checking the school and saw that a window was broken or something like that, or there was an alarm going off. I'm certain schools back then didn't have alarms. I know in the 80s they didn't have alarms, so definitely in the 70s they didn't have alarms. So it was probably a cop on that other side of town checking the school out. Could he have broken in the time that he wanders around before he goes to the hospital? And what's the mindset there?
There is no mindset. There's no thought behind it at all. I mean, he breaks into a school. He scribbles on the board. He draws a little stupid picture that's not even fridge worthy. It adds nothing. Sam Hain. It adds 0.
All right. It's stupid. You ready? Well, these are really not in order. I'm glad you brought this up. We're going to skip ahead. Loomis says Sam Hain. The pronunciation is Samhain. I'm going to repeat that, Blake.
There's no M.
Loomis says Sam Hain and knows all about it. The pronunciation is Sawin, like Sawyn. Sawin. I know I'm from the South. Y'all hang with me. It's a Celtic word. It means Lord of the Dead. And I know it's setting up them burning Michael at the end of the movie. But wouldn't they have put a little bit more research into how to pronounce this word, Blake?
Well, I mean, they just saw it and they said, let's sound it out. I mean, that's all it boils down to. Bud with a great point, or I'm sorry, maybe it's Nick. Nick with a great point in the chat. He was bleeding, so it had to be after he was shot.
Good point. Hold on. I'm messed up now. My God, Halloween 2 is worse than Resurrection. Allie says they had to do something to bring in the brother and sister story. And Chris is saying very silly. Blake, we've got more people on our side than against us right now.
This is going way better than we thought, we think.
I thought people would be rioting like at the Myers house when they're throwing the rocks. Remind me. Okay, it's out of order. I'm sorry. I wanted to try to put it in order. I messed up. Marion having information. Now, let's get back in the Wayback Machine.
Have you ever met anyone named Marion?
No. I only have like 3 or 4 friends. Not a big sample size. Anyway, Marion doesn't even know a thing about Michael Myers at the beginning of Halloween 78. Donald Pleasance has to assure her that he hasn't spoken a word in 15 years. We're going to dope him up. We're going to take him before the court. They're going to sentence him to go somewhere else. That is the law. 8 hours later, she's showing up to find Dr. Loomis. Those two don't have a relationship. I love that Halloween fans like to say they have a relationship. I always assumed, Blake, and you know what happens when you assume, that car ride was one of the first times they've ever been together because they were speaking to each other like people who didn't know each other. And the reason I say this is Sam Loomis has been Michael Myers' doctor for 15 years. If they had any type of relationship, he would have already talked to her about it. If she was his personal nurse, she would always be going to the crazy house with him. She shows back up at the school, and now all of a sudden she knows about a special file that the governor's kept closed that says Laurie Strode was a Myers who was still alive and adopted by the Strodes, and that's why Michael Myers is out to get his sister. That is stupid, Blake. Agree or disagree?
I agree. Why is it a special file? Why is it hidden? I don't understand any of it.
I don't either. Why is the governor involved? And if this special file existed, Blake, the minute he broke out, wouldn't they have sent people to the extra sister? But there you go. Let's see. Nick says, I'm against you guys on this, but you haven't made any bad points. I still love H2, but it has its flaws. Nick, you're missing the point. Blake, how did we start this stream saying, I love Halloween 2? That doesn't mean it's not stupid. Okay. You guys love us. Doesn't mean we're not stupid. All right. Next one, Blake. What is Michael's plan if he doesn't bump into the kid with the boom box?
Now, this doesn't get talked about enough, Ronnie. This does not get talked about enough. Now, I can go sensible and give you the whole line about fate from the original, and that's why it all happens or whatever. But if he doesn't bump into this kid with the boombox that says they took Laurie Strode to Haddonfield Hospital, where's this asshole going? Where's he going?
He's already wandering around.
He's just standing there.
Think
about that. Think about that. They walk into him. He's just standing there like a R word.
Yeah. You know, if my dad would have watched that part of the movie, you know what he would have said? All right, so let me try to defend this. Michael's wandering about town, but he hasn't killed anybody else. So the whole random place-to-place thing kind of loses its focus. But at the same time, somebody defending this Blake could say he's trying to blend in. Okay? Maybe somebody could argue that he's following around this kid with the boombox to try to figure it out. All right? It makes zero sense. He would have never found her. What the hell was he doing? Next up, Blake. Make sure I didn't miss anything. And Bud mentioned this earlier, so I told Bud to hang on. No police protection for Lori at the hospital. The police are scrambling. They know this guy's out here. Hunt has specifically been on the radio and told everybody we're going back out after Ben Tramer got burned up. They knew the killer was never caught, and they didn't put any personal protection on Laurie Strode at the hospital. That is stupid, Blake.
Yeah, it is, especially when they realize they can't find him. I mean, you got to immediately go protect the one victim that's left. But with that being said, I mean, you got to have every cop out there looking for him too, right? I mean,
yeah, I guess you could argue that, but also serve and protect, right? Let's see what Jim Bob said right here, because I don't want to. It's like an estranged sibling. When you're younger, you live it and you can't see the wrong in it. But when you get older, you realize how full of crap they are, but you still love it. Oh, he's talking about Halloween too. Go ahead, Blake. I'm sorry.
no, I mean, I said what I needed to say. I mean, I could see the point where Hunt, who, by the way, is just having to take over for Brackett, so he's making, you could argue he's making rash decisions or whatever. We got to get every cop on every street, searching every house. We got to find this guy. And he's not even thinking about Lori, needing that protection at the hospital. But it is stupid. It is stupid that, I mean, we don't have anybody there to protect her or to interview her or to talk to her.
Yeah. And, there was the deleted scenes or the scenes that were never shot. There you go. Jim Bob said the cops will be waiting to question her when she wakes up. That's exactly right, because she hadn't been able to tell anything as far as what happened to her. I love the kid bobbing up and down as Michael walks to the hospital. I know what he's talking about. Chris is also saying, I guess they figured they had Oliver Hardy, the security guard there. They didn't need any police protection. Blake, if we can rewind the show back like 10 minutes when I was talking about Donald Pleasance, Sam Loomis, the point I wanted to make was Dr. Loomis sees Michael Myers in that house for what? 45 seconds? He doesn't know what type of mask he's wearing. It was in the dark. When he landed in the grass, he looked out there and you can see a little bit of a white mask. How did he know it was Michael Myers, Ben Tramer with the white mask? I mean, that doesn't make sense either. That's what I was going for. Nick says they're taking orders from a civilian. I think they're just going by, and at this point, Loomis is worthless anyway. He's doing more damage than good. Bud said, who put the razor blade in the candy apple? The Elrods? That's a good question. Also says, where were the cops for that? Seems like a bad crime. I've mentioned this before on other streams. There was a big to-do back during the 80s and I guess the 70s about razor blades being put into apples and given to kids during Halloween. Blake, I think there's like under 3 occurrences of that ever happening on police record in the country. So that was like a lot of like hysteria, sort of like the devil worshippers, but we know the devil worshippers are real, Blake. So, a lot of hysteria. Pat, that Halloween movie collector, you go check out his channel. Lori pulled the mask off. Loomis saw his face just before he put the mask back on. Great point, Pat. He did not know. I mean, it adds to he didn't know what the mask looked like. How would he know that Ben Tramer there? Blah, blah, blah. I can't talk tonight. Surely that kid who gave the candy apple. Hold on. What did he say? Surely that kid knew who gave. Oh, true. And the parents should know too. Back in the 80s, our parents would not let us take any homemade candy from people because they were afraid of razor blades and stuff like that. Did not happen. All right. When I see something this long, Blake, I got to go for it. That's what she said. Nick says, I think they had cops waiting there by Lori's side, but then the one cop told the other cop about a swingers party that the Myers parents both split to go to the party and ditch Lori. Back to more reasons why Halloween 2 is stupid. Jimmy's a pedophile and he's worse than Bud. So Bud is an admitted sleaze, but he's also a sleaze with people over age. Lori's not 18 years old in this movie. I don't even know how old Lori's supposed to be. And Jimmy, who's well into his 20s, if his ambulance driver, is hitting on an underage girl, trying to make her his girlfriend in the hospital. He's a piece of crap. He's a pedophile. He should have died.
Yeah, he's offering her coke and all kind of shit. He's a pedophile. He don't deserve to live. He needed a worser death than what he got, Ronnie.
See, Bud's saying she's 17. He's saying he's a creeper. Allie's bringing up the devil worshippers. The devil worshippers are stealing girls with blonde hair and blue eyes. Devil worshippers taking everybody down here. They jumped out of the white vans and tried to take people off school bus. So it's a crazy world out there. Next one, Blake. Ready to go to bed. We've talked about this countless times. Loomis kills dozens of babies in this movie. Dozens.
So it's well known that this hospital is full of babies. Full of babies, right? All the nurses talk about it. And what does Loomis do? He blows them all away. This is after he killed a 17-year-old male. Then he goes to the hospital and he kills at least a dozen babies.
Who killed more people on Halloween night, Blake? Was it Loomis or was it Michael Myers?
I think it's a tie. I think it's close. Does babies count as one adult? Does one baby count as one adult?
Well, I know that the soldiers back in Vietnam said it was like 1/4 of an adult. That's the reason they used to blow up all the schools to try to get their body counts up. But for this movie, one baby is, so Loomis is at 12 or 13 or more, murders in one night. And Michael is, okay, how many people did Michael kill in this movie?
Let's see. He killed Alice in the beginning. The girl on the phone. He killed Alice. Yeah. He killed he killed the security guard. He killed Bud. He killed Nurse Titties. He killed Black Nurse. He killed, I think that's it.
Blake, we need to do some investigation. We need to go back and see if we can count how many
little baby beds
are in the background, and then we'll have a better idea of how many babies Loomis killed in Halloween 2. All right. Let's see. Next one, Blake. Too much time in the hospital in this movie. A lot of people love the setting of the hospital. We broke out a video a week and a half ago, Blake. Y'all go check it out, where we talked about an idea for an alternate ending for Halloween 2, which led to somebody saying it was clickbait that we had, we were saying we had an alternate ending, and we handled that with customer service. But we gave our idea of what a better alternate ending could have been, and that would be Brackett showing back up to run into Michael Myers and pin him against that, and not being Ben Tramer. Too much time in the hospital, too much of the same old stuff. I think that what was the movie with Chuck Norris? Silent Rage did it better in the hospital.
Silent Rage. Yeah, Silent Rage. Yep.
I think they did it better. It got monotonous. Don't get me wrong. I think it's great. But also, it is stupid because there was only so much wandering around you could do with Lori at the time. Michael goes into a room. For some reason, he's so dumb that he stabs some pillows because it looks like a person. Okay. Michael barely sticks his hand out when the elevator door is closing. I think we should have got our ass back into Haddonfield, back into Ground Zero, Blake, where all this stuff was happening. So a crowd of people could have seen Michael Myers go down in flames, literally. What do you think?
I agree 100%. Lori running from room to room, hiding, running upstairs, running downstairs in this big empty hospital. I get it. Small town, small city, but these nurses still got big old asses plus titties.
Edit.
I mean, there's nobody in this hospital, nobody at all, which is, I mean, we know right now, we live in a small town, you go to the hospital, it's packed with people trying to get pills. There's going to be people at this hospital in Haddonfield. It's completely empty. It's stupid. Yeah, give us a couple of scenes in the hospital, let him chase her out, and now she's running down the street trying to get help, okay? And the movie should have ended in the middle of the road. Michael, she finally falls down because that ankle has given out. Michael is crossing the road to kill her, and Brackett smashes him with the car and gets revenge for his daughter.
That's what you get for killing my daughter. Guys, if you hadn't already, hit the like button, hit the share button, do something, as Paul Tuttle would say. All right, Nick says, wait, Loomis is the real killer in this flick. Yes, he is. But over under 8 babies, Blake. This is a good over under. Blake's going over. I'm going over. Nick Push says, big disagree here. Cundy makes the hospital setting fantastic and uniquely creepy, Blake.
Ronnie, is there any way we can get Carpenter's opinion on that?
Let's check it out. I'm sure we can. You know, we've got a pipeline to John Carpenter.
I think he's a talented director. On the other hand, I think Halloween 2 is an abomination and a horrible movie. I was really disappointed in it. And
Oh,
thanks, John.
there you go.
Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it, John. That's the cleanest he's ever been on the show, too, by the way, Blake.
He looks good.
Yeah. All right, you ready for the next one?
Yeah.
How come Michael Myers didn't burn his hand in the whirlpool when he was peeling the skin back on the old chick? He's barehanded. She licked on his dirty fingers. Shouldn't his skin? Wouldn't it have been a cooler scene, Blake, if not only was that her face was 3rd-degree burned while she drowned, but also the skin on Michael's hand was peeling back a little bit?
I mean, maybe this explains how he survives Halloween 2, Ronnie. Maybe he can't burn, you know? Maybe it was just smoke inhalation that got him.
That's the reason he fell out. Is the smoke game? He's like Harry Connick Jr. in Independence Day. I can't breathe.
I can't breathe. Let's kick the tires and light the fires, Big Daddy.
Like George Floyd, he can't breathe. All right, edit. Hit the edit button, Blake. Let's go. Whirlpool. That was a short discussion. Next one, Blake, and the people in the chat, I need your help because I didn't go back to look at this scene. So you probably can tell me the cause of death for this particular character because I know you guys love Halloween 2. Why did Dr. Mixter sit so still to get stabbed in the eyeball, Blake? One of the scenes where they roll the seat around and the needle is perfectly centered in Dr. Mixter's eyeball. So one of two things happened, Blake, before I let you talk. One, that's how he killed him. Or two, he killed him and then put the needle in the eyeball.
He was drunk.
What does that even mean? What does that mean?
Is it possible he was dead before Michael got there?
Oh, you talking about he just couldn't handle his party? He couldn't handle the party? Like Red from Senior Trip? He was the dope king. I don't know. I understand why it's there. It's a very cool scene. But when you actually start to break it down, how did this happen? Was he like asleep and Michael opened his eyelid and got him with the air bubble like he did the chick in the side of the head? Or did Michael choke the shit out of him and then go in the eyeball afterwards? It seems like a waste of time, to be completely honest. All right, Blake, we're getting close to the end. We only got like 4 more left, and then we're getting the heck out of here. We're going to keep it under an hour, people. You check the chat real quick. Allie says he was passed out drunk. I got to scroll up a second. Pat says he was probably passed out since he was okay. Jason Drawn says the power of Hawk Tui, Blake. I mean, that's our first reference to that tonight. Chris says, okay, Ryan Underwood says he was a server at a Mexican restaurant, always handled the hot plates. Chris says, very true, Ronnie. There you go. I don't know what he's agreeing with me about, but I love it. Let's see. Jim Bob says Myers ninja stealth and steady hand. Ryan says Michael doing the helicopter had him mesmerized. Allie says alcohol poisoning. To the next one, Blake. I'm going to mix these up again. Nurse Alv's death. So that's the scene where we see the blood dripping. And I've got one that I didn't add in, Blake, that I'm going to add in later. Don't let me forget. Chat, don't let me forget the extra one that I forgot. So Nurse Alves has I guess a drip in her. She's been needled, and the blood is draining out of her body. So you're telling me Michael found a vein, inserted the needle, did the old trying to get the gas out of the car, and let the blood fall on the floor right there.
Yeah.
Is that what we're supposed to think happened?
You know how fast blood comes out of those little tubes, Ronnie?
Yeah, it's like little drips at a time.
And drained her like that.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I really don't know. That Nurse Alv's death, why it's cool to look at, I'm not really sure what's going on. Blake, I'm skipping ahead. I see you yawning. I get the point. No Hunt versus Michael.
Are you talking about Mike Hunt?
Yes, Michael Hunt. Look, I love Deputy Hunt. I think he's a great character. I think he's my second favorite law enforcement character besides the guy, Meeker, I think is his name. No, I like Hawkins too, so he's number 3. I like Hawkins in part 1. Let me put it that way. And I like I like Meeker. I like Hunt. It would have been really cool as he's walking around with this shotgun. I think he's got a shotgun in the scene where they have to run the people off from the Myers house, to see a showdown with Michael Myers at some point. He could have got killed. He could have winged Michael. I mean, I think it's kind of stupid that we didn't see a Hunt versus Michael showdown, because Hunt sort of just disappears after Marion shows up.
Hey, can I ask you a hypothetical, Ronnie?
Yes.
Would it have been better if Hunt was Judith's boyfriend that night?
Ooh, Blake.
Dude.
That is a good one. He could have said, I was Judas. Dude, and you're tying it all in. That would have been great. Some people might think that's stupid because you're connecting everybody.
Well,
and
I know. I just recently said I hate it when they try to connect everything. Yes. I realize like Scream is doing that right now. Everybody in town is kin to somebody. He's Stu's cousin. He's Randy's black sister. You know, whatever. But I'm just throwing it out there. I just thought of it because I remember Hunt telling the story of when it happened. He was 8 years old or 10 years old or something like that. What if Hunt was the boyfriend that went up there, put in work, did 30-second damage, and bailed out of there?
30-second. I just caught what you said. 30-second.
And now he's after his girlfriend's little brother. I
like that, Blake. I like that a lot because it gives him motivation to hunt Myers down. Jim Bob is going back and saying she was trying to make a Long Island IV and effed up. Talking about Nurse Alv. Chris says it's a cool scene. It is, Chris. Nick saying maybe somebody gave him lessons on being a doctor. Ryan Underwood says she was shooting up that fentanyl and got caught in the act. Field of Screams podcast is here, Blake, saying yo, yo, yo. Glad you're here, baby. Let's see. Siphon. That's the word I couldn't think of, Chris. I'll tell you what. I told Blake before we started this that I wasn't going to talk to you guys much tonight because it seems to distract us from time to time. But I'm so glad I totally didn't listen to my own advice, Blake, because these guys have helped me all night not remembering how to talk. Siphon that blood out. And that's what he did, like that gas. Bud says maybe Michael banging his niece wasn't so bad. Let's see. Chris says, again, silly, but added for more blood factors in the film. Yeah, I get that. And Bud says, how was Brackett not there? That's the biggest letdown of all. Yeah. And I guess, the thing about all of these topics, guys, is I understand the name of the video or the name of the stream is Halloween is Stupid, and we're giving you reasons. But also, we love this movie, and I love the fact that most of these things you could have like a sensible debate about. Like, you could have reasons why it's not stupid and the reasons why it happened. All right. Tommy Wilkins is saying, bravo, Blake, for the whole connection there. Yes. Pat says, Hunt would have been the 1 minute man. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's a good nickname.
It happens.
Nick saying it is a small town, so it wouldn't have been that crazy that everybody's interconnected like that.
Yeah.
Jimbo said he lasted a minute with Judas. How do you think he lasted against Michael?
That's pretty good.
Nick says he was 16 at the time, so it does track. Brett's here, Blake, saying, evening hosers. Hey, Brett, you missed the show last night. We bragged on you about how big of a supporter you are of this channel. We love you, Brett. Glad to see you. Hope everything's going good. Ryan Underwood says there's been 34 different ghost faces, so at some point they're all related. Here we go. Let's see. Oh, Anthony J is here. I'm late. Hate how they turned Michael into Jason. The kills in the opening scene were awesome. There were some great kills in this movie, and we are picking them apart. But I think after he kills that girl at the very beginning of the movie, Blake, that's when it stops feeling like the 78 Halloween. Maybe. Am I wrong about that?
So I actually made my own list, Ronnie. I didn't realize you were going to have a list for both of us, which I really appreciate, by the way. But the very first one on my list, I agree with you and what Anthony J is saying. The first 20, 25 minutes of this movie is fantastic. It is fantastic when Loomis shoots him out. You don't know what death is, and Michael's going from street to street, wounded, goes in the house, goes in the L-Rods. He kills the chick. It's really when we get to the hospital that this movie just bogs down and becomes a bore fest for me.
Well, yeah. I mean, I can see that. Do we want to go to your list a little bit or no?
Do you want me to just run through my list? Because some of it is some stuff we've talked about, and some of it's fresh. And just stop me. So I've already said first 25 minutes is great. We talked about Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm gonna say the synthesizer theme, Ronnie. I'm not a fan. What say you?
I thought you were. I get it. I mean, I get it. It makes the movie distinctively different from part one, but I did have the Halloween 2 soundtrack on CD.
I just feel like, you know when you would rent a video game from Nintendo, an NES game, and it would try to do the music, 8-bit music? I feel like that's what I'm getting in Halloween 2. I'm getting the 8-bit version of the Halloween theme.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I can definitely see that. It seems like the Nintendo version of the theme.
But counter argument to that, I love Mr. Sandman in the intro and outro of this movie. Love it. Okay, so next on my list.
But how does it match up? Before you go to your list, why Mr. Sandman? What's the motivation? And somebody in the chat help me, because I'm sure there's a reason. Why is it Mr. Sandman the song they chose to open and exit this movie? Is there something in that song I'm missing?
The meaning of the song, Ronnie, isn't it about your dream man coming to get you and take you away? Isn't that kind of the theme of that song?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of a irony thing, maybe.
Ironic.
Irony.
No, what is that? What does irony mean? Remember that scene in Seinfeld?
Yeah. I got Michael's dick print in the front yard after he falls. lack of likable characters in this movie. I care about 0 people in that hospital, including Lori.
Great
0.
point. Great point. There are no likable characters. No
I care
characters
about-
you're attached to.
I care about 2 people. I care about Loomis and I care about Deputy Mike Hunt. That's it. My next one, Ronnie, is Stiff Robot Michael, the introduction to Stiff Robot Michael, and that's the way he's going to be in the rest of the movies throughout the franchise.
Yeah.
I know Dick Warlock is well loved. I get it, but he does move different than the Shape does in the original. I mean, we got the Shape in the original looking both ways. You know, he's looking around in that car. And this one, we just get super stiff robot Michael, and I'm not the biggest fan. What say you?
There's a couple of scenes in this movie, and I brought up one. I'm going to repeat myself because that's what old people do. Lori getting into the elevator and Michael not trying to rip it open and get in. He just lets it close. Remember, his hand is in there, and it sort of, it would have opened back up. All he had to do was push it to the side. I guess that comes with the toying with Lori, toying with his prey like an animal. You could say that. You could argue that. But I thought he was too slow. I thought the walking was too slow. I love the walk from part 1. Him walking across that road is not a slow Jason walk. It's a Friday the 13th part 6 quick Jason walk in the woods. So you're right in the robotic and the slowness. Continue on.
My last note we've already talked about, Bud mentioned it in the chat, is the lack of bracket. Now, I get it. His daughter died. Someone's got to be there to tell the wife what happened, or possibly any siblings, if Annie had siblings. But I do think bracket was needed in this movie, whether it's, at the end or what. We should have got more Brackett, Sheriff Brackett in this film.
A lot of people jumping in about the Mr. Sandman, Blake. Chris saying he's not a fan. And somebody up top said they always wondered about that song. Okay, who was it? Nick saying he really likes Mr. Sandman. And it was Chris saying he never understood that song as well. Let's see. His soul left his body after 7 shots, and the evil had him on autopilot. Okay, I can see that. Nick saying he should have been attached. Okay, go to Field of Screams.
No, I was just saying Field of Screams just explained the meaning of the song, and it's somewhat what you and I were saying.
Yeah. Pat says, I like Bud, love the smart-ass man whore. Actually, in the H2 novelization, he has a little bit more backstory. Being a Vietnam vet, I would have loved to have known that about Bud in this movie. Yeah. I mean, it's a veteran, and I would have been more attached to him when Michael kills him.
You would have cared. Like, why not give us that little bit of, it wouldn't have taken much. Give us that little bit of character development,
Chris is saying he's not a fan of the robotic. Okay, let's get the Field of Screams. From Genius, Mr. Sandman is a mythical figure who brings good dreams to sleepers, but the Cordettes are hoping for a dream come true in the form of a physical dream man. Okay, but does that have to do with the fact that Lori spends the majority of the movie asleep? Bring her a good dream, maybe?
Well, there's also and this is on my notes too, Ronnie. Lori suddenly remembers that she has a brother.
Yes, I was going to talk. That was my extra.
She's dreaming. Like suddenly, after 17 years, I remember I have an older brother. I'm adopted.
That was the extra one I had.
That could go into the whole dream thing too.
Well, yeah, Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream, and who she's dreaming about now that she's got all these drugs in her system is her life before she was adopted, and that's a very, very older age to be adopted, Blake, and not remember it. She looked like she was 5 or 6 years old. I mean, you would definitely remember that. You remember your mother saying, "I'm not your real mom." What a piece of crap, by the way. While she's out there at the clothesline, mark it on your taco card. So, and why would they take her to visit Michael Myers? Why would the Strodes do that? That might be another reason this is stupid. she's been to the mental facility and he turned around and looked at her. The Strodes would have had to have done that, right? Help me in the chat.
Well, yeah, I'm just thinking out loud here. Are we sure it's the Strodes that took her? I mean, maybe she wasn't adopted yet. I don't know.
I don't either. And maybe it was made up. Maybe it's just like part of the dream where she pictures going to see her brother.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe Michael was still so young they thought that they could fix, he could be fixed and she could have a relationship with her brother. I mean, and that is a great point about the robot. Who was it that just said that? Ryan Underwood said he got shot 7 times. He'd be moving like a popsicle too.
Well, I mean, I wish I'd have put that on there, but I was such a rush. But how with sealed records that Loomis couldn't even know about? That's true. How, if the records were sealed, how would the Strodes know to take her to see her brother? They shouldn't know who the brother is. A lot of reasons why this movie may be stupid, Blake. Let's wrap it up real quick. And then we'll get back to the chat and we'll all head to bed, guys. I know y'all probably are tired. Let me see. What was the last one I did, Blake? Can't remember. It was Nurse Alves. Here's the next one, Blake. Why did Loomis fall down after being stabbed by a 1-inch blade? He pulls a gun on Michael Myers, who just bashed the daggum door in. Michael stabs him with a scalpel. Okay, in the chat, if you want to, argue, maybe it's 1.5 inches, but it's not much longer than the top of your thumb if you look at it based on where his hand was holding that scalpel. Loomis looks down. It's not like Michael did the scene from Stepfather where he takes that broken glass and just like keeps ramming it up and guts the guy. Michael just. Oh, I got what you're doing.
One of y'all clip that for me, please. Somebody in the chat clip that.
How dare you? He just a little poke, and Loomis is like, ugh, and falls out. He fell out, Blake, and he's got to try to protect that girl.
Any chance he's a diabetic?
He is old. Maybe he's got thin skin and he's bleeding out. He had took 5 aspirins earlier in the day and his blood was real thin, and he left him Nurse Alves. Makes zero sense.
He hasn't eaten in 2 days.
How do we know that?
I just don't see Loomis stopping to get a bite at any point.
He stopped to buy that gun.
Loomis is a drama queen. I agree with Anthony.
All right, we'll come back to the chat. Here we go. Last one, Blake. How did Michael find his way out after the explosion? If we remember, Laurie shoots him twice in the head. Luckily for her, unlike Harry, she's a damn good shot. She shot him in both eyes. People will argue, no, she didn't. She shot him above the eyes, and the blood rushed into his eyes. I've always assumed she shot his eyes out. He cannot see. And you know why I think she shot him in the eyes? Because there's no damn holes in the mask. So she had to be a dead eye shot. Okay? Literally. He can't see. Loomis blows up half the hospital. Shit is falling everywhere, Blake. How did Michael, and before you answer in the chat, I understand it's the firewalk. It's great. It's cool to see Laurie for some reason cowering in a hallway that's full of fire and seeing the boogeyman continue to come after her. But let's put some reality on it. How did he find his way out? He would have been walking into walls. He would have been circled around. It wouldn't have made much sense. He never would have been able to walk that straight line, Blake.
Ronnie, we have a new member sign up.
We'll get to that in a second.
Oh, okay.
I'm just looking for your thoughts right now.
I think the whole thing is stupid. I always assumed he got shot in both his eyeballs, which, as a kid I thought was cool. But then you get to see his eyeballs like a couple of seconds later, right? Whenever he brings a hand down and he looks at Loomis And he's like, "You're still alive, fatty? I thought I stabbed you with an inch of this scalpel." So I don't know. I don't know where he got. Like, part of me wants to try to make it make sense. It says he got hit in the what are these bones right here called? The orbital bone.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe he got shot in the orbital bone on both his eyes, like Carl from The Walking Dead or something like that. But I mean, you're right. Even if he survives that, which he shouldn't, even if he survives the explosion, you got a blind Michael Myers walking around now. I mean, come on, that is not good. That is not good writing.
All right, hold on. Let me get back to it, Blake. Like you just said. Bud from the Shea Bahar podcast just became a YouTube member, Blake. And you know what we do to that? It really doesn't make a lot. It really doesn't make a lot of sense to leave it on there because you can't see what it says. Hold on, let me get this off here. All right, so let me go back and we'll do it again, Blake.
Another new member just signed up, Ronnie. Another one.
Here we go. Ryan Underwood just became a grumpy goat. Thank you, Ryan. He's always here. He's always.
Fun fact for you guys in the chat. Most of you know this already. Jamie Lee Curtis called Ronnie a grumpy goat. If you don't believe me, look it up on Twitter. Jamie Lee Curtis, grumpy goat. You'll find Ronnie in the search bar.
You'll find millions of alternate lifestyle human beings attacking me on Twitter while I just say thanks for listening. I didn't listen to that.
Stop saying thanks for listening. I didn't listen to your shit. Thank you for being a supporter. I don't support you. I support the Queen.
Yes, Queen. I was like, what are we doing? Luckily, the world went to hell a year later, and I didn't have to deal with that anymore. All right, Blake, let's get through the chat real quick. Phil the Scream says, Mr. Sandman might be a better song for Nightmare on Elm Street movie, but you guys did a good job piecing it together. Very good point. I think somebody else said that earlier. It might have been Nick. Chris is saying they shoehorned a lot of filler to compete against Friday the 13th Part 2. Not well thought out. Jim Bob says 1-inch punch right there. Ryan Underwood, thank you again for becoming a member, man. We love you. Loomis was secretly an alcoholic. All you had to do was blow on him and he would go down. But thank you for becoming a member. You didn't have to do that. Anthony J is saying Loomis is a drama queen. He is. He's always getting him. He gets thrown out the window or out through the door in Halloween 4 and just lays up forever. Did you say you were a Vietnam vet? If so, thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
Do I look old enough to be in Vietnam?
No, you don't, Ronnie. I think Anthony, who said that?
That was Phil the Screams.
I think Phil the Screams just trying to be funny. Stop it.
Okay. No, I'm not a vet. They wouldn't take me because I ate soap before I went done that stuff.
He was about to enlist and he got caught sucking on a mannequin's titty at JCPenney's.
Ryan Underwood, Loomis might have shared some of that dog with Michael, left his house. And Chris is saying our favorite quote, Blake, get out now.
Everybody in the chat, Friday the 13th Part 2 or Halloween Part 2? Let us know which one you prefer.
Jim Bob said he saw exit signs at every exit, and they're in Braille. Okay.
Good point.
Ryan saying he got out because magic. That's always the best explanation.
Good point.
Bud says, I got the answer. Halloween 2 was all a dream. Dude, if Halloween 3 opened up and Halloween 2, and she's waking up in the hospital, is that worser, Blake? I don't know.
Yeah, that's worser.
Okay. So Jack saying he died. 3 is devoid of Mike. Finished.
Good. I like Doc. I like Doc's point of view.
He's a good man. He received Daredevil's powers and used vibrations to find his way out.
Nice.
Allie says, if anything, this proves Carpenter really wanted Halloween to be a one-off. Yeah. Pay him. He says that. Let's see. Ron Underwood says, Jamie's a man, so it doesn't surprise me. Jamie Lee Curtis. There you go. Blake. Nick, excellent points tonight, guys. Great stream. Have some brews tonight on me. Time to cue that ABBA theme, Ronnie. Look, dude, thank you for the money. Not only are you a monthly supporter, but you donate money to us that you don't need to, but we really appreciate it. Where's it at, Blake?
Ronnie's Trucks in the shop. We appreciate it.
Money, money, money. Must be funny.
And for $10, Blake, he gets more.
Guys, just lean forward. Don't lean back. Lean forward. Ready? Ready? Push. Push. Ready? Oh, you got that big guy. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, he's in the split. Somebody say, hey, we want some. Oh, do me.
Way to go, dude!
You know why they call me Mo?
No, why?
Because every time people give me money, I always want more.
Money, money, money. Must be funny.
Thanks, Nick. You didn't have to do that, but we really do appreciate it, bud. All right, so let's see if we got anything else in the chat. Oh, Blake, you asked the question of the chat: Friday the 13th Part 2 or Halloween 2? Let's see what the answer is. Allie says Halloween 2, hands down. Wrong answer. Ryan Underwood, sackhead Jason for the win. Wheelchair dude caught effing a machete in the face. Caught an effing machete in the face. Right answer. Chris, Friday 2, no question. Right answer.
One more for the good guys.
Bud, Halloween 2, despite all the plot issues. Wrong answer, Bud. Phil to Scream says, I was doing something while listening, and I thought you said you were. That's why I asked, because you look like you're in your 20s, and it didn't check out. Blake, do I look like I'm in my 20s?
You do.
I feel like I'm in my 20s. All right. So going down. Oh, Phil to Scream says Friday 2. Correct answer. Nick says Friday the 13th, Part 2 rocks.
Yes.
That's his pick. And that'll do it for our stream for why Halloween 2 is stupid. Now we'll sandwich this thing up just like we started by saying I love Halloween 2. I think I said Friday the 13th Part 2, but I love Halloween 2. I love the movie. It's a lot of nostalgia there for me. I really do like it. Now, I'm not a big fan of that TV cut where the shit's all mixed up and out of order, because I don't like change, but I love the beginning of the movie. You don't know what death is, and he wanders off into the cold open. That's great. The skull in the pumpkin is great. I love the Mr. Sandman at the end when it's wrapping it up and the town's just in like this fog, this haze where there's a lot of healing that's going to have to go on because Michael has left his mark on this town again. It would have been a lot better if it ended right there, but we're all Halloween movie fans. I think everybody in the chat or everybody watching this, and it's over 30 from all the platforms we're on right now. So I think we're all Halloween fans. So we want all the sequels, whether they're good or they're bad. I mean, I think we want them. And, you know, there's a lot of people that like to complain about, these sequels, but it beats not getting a sequel. I mean, think of it like that. I mean, one of these days, me and Blake's going to get around to arguing why the David Gordon Green trilogy is great. I mean, it's going to happen eventually. All right.
I think it's great. I do think it's great. Ronnie, can I ask the audience a bonus question before we sign off?
Yeah.
For 5 extra ATG and AT points, who is this wrestler?
Giving away points. Hey,
Looks like
thanks,
he's up.
Bud. We had a fun.
Law
Go check out
enforcement
our stream with Bud from earlier this week where we talked Halloween Resurrection. I think Bud got us on the Halloween train. Nick Push got it.
It looks like they're going to get it. Okay, so what town is he from? I need to know what town he's from. Somebody said Paul Blart. What town is he from, guys? Come on.
Did you ever take a trip down to? You better read the sign that says law and order. Nick says Chicago. He could look, if Big Boss Man was in Chicago, they wouldn't be having the problems they have, and he'd have cleaned that place.
Here you go, Allie. This is who you're looking for.
Nick Push says Texarkana. They've got Buford T. Justice in that area. Actually, he's a Texas County Mountie. Texarkana is not Texas. Or
All right,
is
Ryan,
it?
you want to sign us off?
Macon County. Are you going to tell them, Blake? Oh,
No.
Bud got it. Bud got it. Cobb County, Georgia. Guys, real quick, thanks for everybody. Thanks for the donations. Thanks for the memories. Thank you guys for
Thanks
becoming
for the
members.
memories.
Thanks for the donations.
What the hell are you talking about?
I can't talk tonight, so I just figured I'd throw that in to pop you.
Thank you.
We're heading.
Thanks, brother.
We're heading.
Thank y'all for joining us. Halloween 2 is stupid.
Bye, everybody.